and obviously worked out. Next year, you're drafted first overall to, I mean, I assume your hometown team, right? I mean, you grew up an
Yeah.
Astros fan, right?
Yep. That's right.
So pretty cool there. Now let's talk about you getting into pro ball and you're the number one overall pick. Obviously, there's, no higher expectations than that. Talk about navigating now. This is a job, and you have been tabbed as the future of this organization. Talk a little bit about how you dealt with that. Obviously, the just lifestyle of pro ball. I think that enough people don't really talk enough about, and the difficulties of that, and just navigating the expectation that came with being the number one overall pick.
Yeah. I think when I look back at my time with the Astros, the way I describe it is like I did the best I could with what I had, with what was presented to me, and because of that, like I have a lot of grace for myself and all the things that I went through. There was a crazy amount of external expectation, but also like the internal expectation. It's kind of how I'm wired, is that I want to have good relationships with people. I'm kind of a people pleaser, and so it's like, man, I wanted to be able to um, to do whatever was being asked of me without complaining, without grumbling. And I tried to do that the best I could. Um, and it was hard because I was starting to feel physical issues, like some pain and my elbow and things like that. And from that through, I mean, there are so many factors, but it's just like dealing with the failure and the struggle that seemed to happen so immediately after I got, I was like highest of highs, and then a year later I'm lowest of lows. Got a 10 ERA in A ball in the Cal League, and it was just like a very confusing time in my life. I showed up every day. I worked hard. I gave my best, and it just seemed like I couldn't get things to click, and then my elbow started bothering me, and now I'm trying to fight through, there's just like nagging injury. It's not so bad that I need to stop throwing, but it's not good enough to where I can like feel like I'm throwing with confidence. And I mean, it just felt like it was one thing after another. And I didn't have the skills to figure out how to, stop the bleeding per se, and kind of hit the reset button and figure out how to get back on track. And looking back, I'm like, maybe that would have been having surgery a little bit sooner to try to deal with the bone spurs that were cropping up, or that had been developing over the years. And there's a lot of things that I'm like, maybe I would have done things a lot differently, but I'm not mad that I didn't, because I just didn't have the information available that I do now as I'm looking back. And so, yeah, it was hard. It was hard, but also really like, it really developed me, and I think strengthened me in a lot of other ways. Even though it felt like, man, my baseball career is not going how I ever wanted it to go or expected it to go, or anyone else for that matter. And so just being able, like having to own the failure, uh, is really hard, especially when you care a lot about performing well, and you have performed well a lot in the past.